Hi, I am Isabel. This is my brother Josiah, and we are Energetic Mechanics. We help people connect in with their energetic team, their guides that are around them, and help them learn how to find that connection for themselves. There's so much misinformation out there in the spiritual space. There's so many people saying do one, two, three, and then you're gonna open up your third eye. We teach the mechanics behind opening up so you can have safety, so you can have control and consistency. So on the live, I will be channeling in a few guides for us today. And Josiah does all of these wonderful pieces of artwork behind our head for intuitive painting of guides.
And we're probably going to jump in really quickly here into the channeling itself.
Yeah.
If you're new, we've been doing this for the past 8 years with an understanding of who's there, having a control over our space, and bringing them in with intention. And so we always go into a channeling with those controls set up around it.
Yeah.
With that, we're going to just jump right into a demo and talk about what happened when we get back.
Beautiful. Okay, we are bringing.
You could stay in that spot. Actually, I'll move the camera to you.
Cool. I think we're gonna start with ethos today.
Let's do that.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
All right. I'm gonna bring in one of my main guides in my space, ethos. All right. Let me go get him.
Hi, Ethos.
Hello, Josiah.
It's good to see you again.
As always, it is wonderful to see you as well.
We're actually going to be talking about partially your role of a manager, but more so the role of the higher self and how they act as kind of a filter for the whole space and kind of set in the pieces in place for the guides to be able to function. I wanted to start with you describing what your role is when you help manage the other guides in the space. So what does it look like for you as a spirit guide to be doing that, and how do you support Isabel in this way?
Yes. Now, how I am bringing forth information is through, as you have stated, the role of a manager, of delegating the intentionalities and the tasks to the entirety of the energetic team, and making sure the information that is coming forth in the system is streamlined in a way for the logical brain to be able to process, and for the entirety of the energetic body to find alignment with that information. When speaking of the more manager role, there are layers to this, and as you are stating, that the higher self acts more as a filtration system to the information, the blanket of information that is seeping into the auric field. This is where us as guides are operating within this auric field, or the awareness of the consciousness, with the intentions that are placed through the individual, through the vessel. This is where I then delegate the intentions to the rest of the guides and bring forth information that is aligning with that specific intentionality.
With that being said, does everybody have energetic or spiritual guides that they can work with themselves?
Yes, each individual within each incarnation has an entire subset of energies that are around them to support them on their heart's intentionalities.
And why do those guides come forward for us within each individual life? Do we pick them? Do they pick us? How does that process work?
It is a combination of the two processes. It is a combination between you choosing what lessons you are looking to uphold within each incarnation system, and through this subset of these lessons, then you are able to set the intention, so to speak, of these circumstances outwards. Now, what will happen from this basis is you will bring forward certain guides pertaining to these specific lessons that you are looking to embody within this incarnation cycle. However, as you go throughout the lifetime and are embodying and encompassing these particular lessons you have set up for yourself, these guides can interchange and shift roles and dynamics based upon what your system is integrating with at that moment.
With that being said, we're going to jump in today for how others' guides can support them. How have you supported Isabel's space, the one that's sitting here physically with us, how have you supported her space and built that connection with her over time?
Yes. Now, my original connection with the vessel was through the sense of feelings, the sense of calmness. Now, I am present within the space to initially support neurological processes. There was a lot of anxiety, a lot of looping and racing thoughts that were present within the system that was creating a disconnect between the receiving aspect. That is where my energy has been primarily focused before switching into more of a manager role of the space. With that being said, I helped the vessel support an understanding where thought patterns were stemming from, how that is held in the body, and how to release the emotional states from these processes to not only retrain the nervous system, but to retrain the neurological firings and patterns as well. As this dynamic began shifting, she was able to start seeing and trusting the visuals that I was bringing forward because she began trusting in the feelings that was being produced when asking to receive these dynamics. Oftentimes what will happen is that the brain will overcome the ability of connection. So when we begin being in tune with the body, now we are aligning the brain to work with the self rather than against the self. Once this dynamic was established, this is when I stepped into more of a manager role of the space to help keep the mass amount of information streamlined in a way that can still be processed effectively.
With that being said, Ethos, does everybody have the ability to connect with their own team and spirit? And is it more about worthiness, or is it more about finding a structure that actually works for you to connect?
Right, it is all about the structures and the mechanics behind your specific intentionality and therefore connection. Each individual has an entirety of guides around them formed based upon the lessons you are looking to bring forward in this particular incarnation system, reflecting the specific characteristics or embodiments that you yourself feel that you might as well be lacking. This is where reception through feeling-based modalities is most prominent for most individuals because guides act as a reflection or a mirror to what the self is looking to embody and encompass. Once you begin setting those specific intentions, bringing forward specific guides to first develop this emotional connection and validation through the feeling-based senses. This is when we create validation loops and connections. Now, will this vary from individual to individual? Absolutely, but this is going to be the generic process to begin forming this bond.
Thank you, Ethos. I think we're going to pause at this point to speak with everybody on as well, but thank you for joining us today and everyone here. We appreciate it.
As always.
Welcome back.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for
Hello.
joining us and everyone that's
Hello.
on. We really appreciate it. We've been doing this for the past 8 years or so to help people connect with their own teams, find their mechanics of how they connect, and understand your own process in doing so. We see a couple of things that say it's a scam. We've been doing this, and why we believe what we do is because we've lived it for the past 8 years.
Yes.
It hasn't been about reading books. It hasn't even been about taking classes from others that do spiritual work. When we realized we could connect to our guides in the way that Isabel brings them forward, we worked with them constantly. And we went from a place of stuckness, of continuous loops in our lives, anxiety, depression, all of this. And we started to shift in a future-focused manner where we understood how our guides can support us, not just in information, thank you, Kim, not just in information, but how do we embody something different?
And I think it's important to note here too, I channel in my guides on lives, but we questioned this for a long time. And that's why we are so incredibly confident in what we do and what we know, because we have asked pretty much any and all questions to our teams and felt the effects of it.
And we didn't grow up in an environment saying we should believe in this.
Right.
we actively fell into it and realized, okay, what's really going on here? And we wanted to discover the mechanics behind what was happening and try to poke holes in anything that we could.
Yes.
So we knew what was actually going on. With that being said, if you're also someone who has connected in through dreams, you felt a presence with you in dreams, you felt drawn towards specific events in your life, you get an inner knowing, maybe you feel from others, you're very empathic and you feel what others feel. Yeah. We're here to help you gain control over that. And some say it needs to be intuitive in how it comes to you. What we say is there's a way to find a center in the self where you can decide and bring forward what is relevant to you. One of the biggest things we've learned from our guides, and we're going to bring another in here in a moment, is that just more and more and more information does not mean it's better.
No.
We want controlled information, concise information. And if you think about it, like I always say with people in a room, would we rather have 100 random people screaming information at us, or a couple of very close friends that truly know our heart?
Yeah. And I think it's the same as well, with that questioning, that I think a lot of people go, all right, we have to have everything come in intuitively, but then you get really open to spirit and then everything just shuts right back off. That's because our systems are not meant to take in all of that information at once. And so who I was just channeling, Ethos, is my manager, my primary guide. So he acts as, all right, not everything is allowed in, but only what is allowed based on your intentions.
And Visions for the Heart, the reason why we brought forward that name too is because we've noticed the guides that are really there for you, what they want is your best and heart's intention.
Yeah.
They're tied to your heart space. And so that's a way where we can identify who is really here to help me find my truth, to help me move my life forward.
Yeah.
Because anything in mass quantity, once again, this is going to be the theme of today, does not equal better. It's who truly knows you for your heart and wants to support you in growing that. Yeah. With that, we're going to dive back in on the concept of a filter. That is the theme for today, and I should have opened with that when we first came on. And there's a hair right in front of my eyeballs.
I've had dog hair in my eyes all day.
What is a filter of your space? And oftentimes a higher self acts as that. An energy that comes forward to help you manage all the noise and find what is signal. Cut through the noise and find what is relevant. And we're going to bring in a guide to talk about what that actually means and encourage him to break it down. So if you all were siblings, actually.
Yes.
If you all have questions for a higher self, we're going to give a moment here to ask them in the chat, and I'm going to relay them directly when Isabel channels them in.
My higher self acts as my, what we call, filtration system of information and energy. So if you have any questions on how that works, any questions on what a higher self is, how they operate, anything like this, go ahead and leave those in the comments, and I will ask my higher self when I channel him in just a moment.
And more examples of questions: how higher selves can support us. Mm-hmm. What is their role? How can we find our own higher self? How can they help us manage the noise? And they come in, all of our guides come in for a specific role to teach and remind us of who we really are.
Yeah.
We've worked with them for all these years because we've been in really extreme situations, and we've been able to get support from them in clarity on how we can move forward, in embodying and feeling different in the body, in actually helping ourselves take a physical step forward that sticks.
Thanks for getting our questions started here. Awesome.
In Kit Kat 5-6 love. We're going to start off with that question. Okay. And feel free to keep them rolling as we're going. I'll be off camera, but I'll still be able to see what comes forward. So we're going to bring in Isabel's higher self.
Beautiful.
named Joshua.
All right. I'll bring him in for y'all.
Hi, Joshua.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us as you always do. How are you today?
I am wonderful. How are you?
Great.
What do you need?
Our primary topic we're bringing forward today, we have questions that we're going to get to in one moment, but
Okay.
our primary topic is filtering through information
Yes.
to find what's relevant for us and the role that you play in Isabel's space, but the role that a higher self plays in everybody's space if they choose to work with them in this manner. And so I want to start by asking you directly, what is your role and what are the tasks that you perform to support Isabel?
My role and dynamic is very similar to other higher selves as well. To understand the role of the higher self is to also understand the role of guides. Guides are here tied to the specific lifetime, the specific lessons. They are tied to the specificity that is grounded in the physical environment. This is how guides are there to support you on a grounded manner, on understanding opportunities, on helping regulate the nervous system, regulating the emotions. Why? Because all of these facets of the self are all tied into a body, into the physical systems, not only of the body, but of the earthly cycle as well. Now, when dealing with the higher self and the many layers that come with this, that energy is not specifically tied to one singular incarnation. It is not tied to one singular intention from the soul contract, from your intentionalities. However, the higher self is connected into the collective. Not only the collective as a whole, source energy, but the collective of the self. What this means is that the higher self is connected into all lessons, spanning across all reincarnation cycles and all systems of guides you have encountered and will encounter to support the alignment with the self, the authenticity of the self, and expressing the individuality that is also dually tied with source energy. Does this make sense?
It does, and with that being said, Joshua, Kit Kat is asking, how many higher selves are there?
Are we speaking in pertaining to one individual?
Yes.
Great. Now, while there is a singular highest self, there are layers beyond this. My energy is what is called an aspect of the highest self, of the higher self. Now, for simplicity, we will call the highest self what many refer to as the higher here. You can think of this version of your soul, the blueprint of the self, in different layers, in different facets. There are the aspects that help support in a more literal and grounded manner. This is what many connect into during the lifetime. It is a portion of the higher self that is able to direct their funnel of information in a way for the body to understand and program and process. When we speak of the higher self or highest self in this manner, this is where your soul is fully integrated with the collective and source energy as a whole. You can think of it as a trickle-down effect. The highest self is pulling from all of the consciousness, goes down to the aspect of the higher self that is going to take this information and ground it a little bit more so it pertains to you and the systems that you are bodily connected into, such as the earthly realm, such as the particular guides you hold. Now, the aspect of the higher self is going to take this filtration of information and support it in an avenue of connection with the self, with the guides, in a more physical and grounded manner. Does this make sense?
Yes, thank you, Joshua. With that being said, our next question from Kim is, why does it feel so hard to regulate your nervous system even when you ask guides for help? And can you add in the element of training your energetic team to this as well?
Right. Now, when we ask for a general blanket term as asking guides for help, right? Understand here that there is an aspect of free will behind every single layer of intentionality that you place. So if you were to place a generic statement of asking the guides to regulate my nervous system, asking my guides to help me, what this creates is you are opening up a doorway saying, hi, I need help. But your guides are going to say, with what particularly? Hey, I'm looking for a retraining of my nervous system. What specifically does that mean? Are there intrusive thoughts that are coming forth? Is there a particular emotion that is constantly being stored within the body? Where is your trigger point? The more detail and specificity and information you can give to your guides, the more they can direct their energy in a much more precise way so you can begin to feel those effects and changes. And just as Josiah has stated, it is about a training of your team. Why is this? Your guides come forward already implementing and embedding the lessons that they have learned throughout their incarnation cycles on this earthly plane or on other planes as well. Now, with that, they are here to fulfill their specific role, just as you. The more specific you can get, the more you are opening up that door of free will, and the more directed their energy can become.
Thank you. Joshua, Lucid Goddess is asking, what is the fastest way I can make direct communication with my guides? I want to open with, by the end of this live, we'll give a path where Isabel and I can support people immediately in feeling and resonating in that connection. And Joshua, what I want to specifically ask you is a tool someone can use today if they're looking to connect on their own.
Yes. Now, understand here that guides, the higher self, highest self, source energy is all funneled through your heart center. The heart center is going to be the accumulation of source energy and Mother Earth energy, Gaia, providing that balance. This is where a lot of the emotional states are going to be held. This is where your primary methodology of connection is going to be the most concentrated. Many will originally go to the third eye in order to try to perceive the energies around them. But if we do not have a base in the feeling centers of the heart, now when we open the third eye, it can become clouded and warped based on the brain's perceptions rather than the truth and the feelings of the heart center. So if you are looking to initially connect in with your guides, with the higher self, what I always suggest is going to be beginning building that foundational connection through feelings. Who specifically are you bringing in? Whether it is your guides, if you do not know their specific labels, setting intentions to bring forth your primary guide or your higher self to feel what emotion for what reason. When we are connecting, many are trying to bring forth when their, so to speak, storage container is already full of input and information. You can think of the body as a container for all the past ages, for all the past emotions that is being stored in the system. So with that, guides can help be a middleman, so to speak, between the emotions, between the younger selves, between your thought processes to help carry some of this weight, releasing what is no longer needed in your space, giving your guides those thoughts, those emotions, those feelings that are heavy in the body, and then asking them to take a step forward, to come into the heart space, to feel that connection. What this allows is not only for you asking for information to come in and it feels as though there is a roadblock, but you are creating space. So now your guides have an opportunity to affect and direct their information through this feeling.
Thank you, Joshua. In the moment, can you give advice based on what's been brought forward so far to everyone that's joining us? And I want to leave that a little more open-ended.
Looking to connect with guides simply for information, and looking to connect with guides to help retrain your system are two very different methodologies. Connecting in with guides, with the higher self, with the aspects of the higher self, simply for informational downloads, which a majority of the population are using their guides for, is only a minimal fraction of the way guides and higher selves are truly there to support you. If you are looking to connect in with your team on a much deeper, grounded manner, this is where an emotional connection is going to come into play. A releasing and helping and retraining the system, in finding that trust and that bridge. Your guides already have systems set up, but you are the one directing on how these systems are operating. You are the one in control of how information is being received. You are the one in control of who is in your astral space. Even if it feels as though you are not receiving in this moment, continue to set those intentions, continue to set those systems in place, and find the celebrations, find the alignment, find those minimal aspects of connection, and expand upon that. Explain to your team, this is what I am looking for, this is what I am wanting more of, this is how I am wanting you to communicate because I felt it.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today, and everyone that's on. As always, we appreciate it.
Oh, it was my honor. Is there anything else you need from me?
Not in this moment. Thank you, Joshua.
As always.
Thank you for joining. Everybody that's on, we really appreciate you being here. We've been doing this for the past 8 years or so to help people understand the mechanics behind how to connect themselves. That is a wonderful question. I actually do want to answer that. Thoughts on sleep paralysis. Something interesting about working with teams, whether it's information that comes forward or whether it's dreams. Your guides will never present anything that's fear-based,
No.
doubtful-based, anger-based, anything along those lines. Why? Because they've already released those types of emotions. That's why they're a guide in the present moment.
Yeah.
They literally can't hold on to that. And any guide we've asked from all of the years we've been doing this have always said the same thing. With that being said, how does that lead to thoughts on sleep paralysis? If you have nightmares or sleep paralysis that tends to feel more negative in that moment, oftentimes it's because we have not yet cleared our energy before we go to sleep. And so if anyone's interested in dreams in particular, I'll give you a methodology to be able to start to connect in through the dreams now.
Yeah.
And I'll pin that again because
ways that I think we both really started
yes,
through dreams.
and it's extremely important because your brain gets out of the way. It allows your heart to connect without your brain grinding gears. And with that being said, when you have a negative dream or something along those lines, it's most often because we're connecting to random information and other people's energy throughout the day. We have a mind that is spiraling, and we also may not have just cleared the energies that are in our space in that moment. Doesn't mean they're negative. It oftentimes means there's just an overload of information. That is the most common thing that we see with where those can stem from. And so how do we resolve that? Is we find a way to be able to flow. A clearing technique. Release those heavy thoughts that are flowing throughout the day and find an avenue to doing that. We actually have one pinned to the top of our page if you do need one. From there, we set our intention for what we want to feel.
Not what we want to experience, what we want to feel. That's a big difference.
What we want to feel, what we would like to embody, the energy we want to bring into tomorrow. This is what we tell to our energetic team so they have a direction and they can create clarity out of whatever noise is left. From there, writing down in the morning and logging celebrations from what did go well. Did you feel a little bit lighter when you woke up? Did you get a deeper sleep? Did you feel like you were more excited for the day to come because of those intentions you set? How do you avoid getting over the terrifying feeling, paralyzed and aware of it? So like with sleep paralysis, for example, setting that intention, clearing your energy, setting the intention for what you do want. It gives your team a direction. And for everyone joining, this goes for anything. This goes for anything. Saying what we don't want is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But describing what we don't want and then describing what we want to replace it with gives your team true directionality and the ability to really work with you.
Yeah.
They're capable. The thing is, are we using our free will to invite them in a supportive manner, in a way that can actually be productive? Because your guides will follow you to the ends of the earth.
Yes, they will.
They will. And we're going to talk about a way by the end of this on how we can support you in bringing your guides forward. But we're not pulling them from anywhere. They're
With
in
you.
your space.
Yes.
We have not one single time ever, and I can say that so confidently because we've done hundreds of sessions, we have not once ever come across someone that does not have a guide in their space.
No.
They are there. The key of what we teach here, hey Taylor, is it's just the mechanics of learning how to work with them in a way that's effective. And why do we know that's needed? Because there are so many people in the spiritual space that are constantly messed up internally. You also know that just as well as we know that.
Yes.
Maybe you are someone, we were, that have been doing the spiritual work for so many years and it still felt like there was no progress there.
Yeah.
But what changed it is when we started asking our guides, not, can you give us more information, but how can we start to embody different? What are the mechanics going on here on how we can work with you effectively? And we went to them very bluntly at the time, saying, this isn't working. I'm meditating for this many hours a day. I'm eating better. I'm being a good person. Why isn't my life changing? Like, I want to be straight with everyone here. We were like that to our team.
Even when I could see them and hear them and receive and get those very clear messages back, that was still what our conversations were.
Why isn't my life changing?
Yes.
Even when she was doing this. And that's the interesting part about it. That does not fix all of the problems. All of a sudden, you can see your team and they're right in front of you. That's not where I focused on, but we have a prime example here. And she was still going to the team and saying, why isn't my life changing?
Yeah.
And then we went, okay, there's got to be another element to this than what's being talked about. And that's why we brought forward energetic mechanics. Not how do we see them or how do we get information. Most of us get glimpses of them quite often. Most of us do already feel intuitive nudges. But how do we work with that in a way that actually moves our life forward, that allows us to take action, that allows us to feel more safe in the body as we're moving?
Grounded spirituality, so you can actually move your life forward in the way that you have always wanted to. Because I know we get on here and I channel a lot and I'm bringing in all these different guides from my spaces, from Josiah's space, but the core of it is, how do you work with your team to move your life forward?
Yeah, and there's starting points and mechanics to this. I'll give you another example here. Doudou. We're going to say that's French or something like that. Is the inner voice, when you tune in, always a spirit guide? That's a great question. That's a question that we asked as well. The solution we came up with, when just starting out, we have no clarity of what's what here.
Right.
A mechanic that you can use is it helpful? It's such a duh type of question, but it works in the beginning. So whether so is it always a spirit guide? No. But could it be your higher self? It could be. Could it be a guide trying to support you? Absolutely. Could it be a positive thought? Sure. Could it be an intuitive message from your heart? Absolutely. If it's positive, if it's looking to move you forward, if it makes you feel an excitement in you, it could be one of those things.
Yes.
If you're just starting out, I would recommend do what comes forward. What are you drawn towards? What is that information guiding you to do that is helpful, positive, or leading you in a direction that could be beneficial? Try it and see what the results are.
That's how I channel, honestly. It's because I'd get those gut feelings, I'd see those glimpses of visuals, and exactly like Kim said, I just went with it and I trusted it. And then when it formed a lot deeper into seeing and hearing and feeling and channeling, then came, all right, I'm going to question this because I know I have a steady foundation. So now, okay, what is actually happening here?
And I would reframe question into understanding.
Yeah, there we go. That's a better framework for it.
Because it was initially just following the heart and the gut and what comes forward. Yes, following the heart space. We say gut, but really that's the heart center.
Yeah.
And then understanding the mechanics behind that, which would take us quite a while to go through on here. But we'll talk a little bit about avenues of how we could dive deeper into the mechanics at the end of this live. For now, we're going to jump in with another, I say maverick this time. I say because we could follow the theme of filtering information to what's relevant. A protector type of energy, an upholder, as we call them, would be a great segue for that. So
Okay.
we're going to bring in another energy from our space, knowing that you have a unique space around you as well. And so that's what we'll focus on by the end of this, is how we can bring in your own team to speak with you directly. But what our team comes forward to do is give as much information as they can about what this role is.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you want to ask questions, you have any as we bring them forward, of what does my protector do for me? How can I start to connect with them? What are initial steps I can meet with this protector energy? Feel free to ask those and I'll relay them directly to
And we're
him.
going to bring in Maverick, one of my protector energies in the space.
Sounds good.
Perfect. All right, I'll go ahead and bring him in.
Hi, Maverick.
Hi. It's been a moment since I've been in the body. Are you okay?
Yeah, thanks for joining us in this format again. We have a group with us today. We appreciate you. We're asking a little bit about protectors today,
Okay.
upholders. But more specifically, the whole theme with everyone that we brought forward so far was why it's important to filter information and find what's relevant. And that not all information is relevant for us.
Right.
And can you start out with what your role is specifically for Isabel? And then I want to answer questions for those coming forward for us today.
Yes.
Thank you.
My role has shifted throughout this lifetime. Now, originally, my intention was to be that defense, to be that protector, to help keep out other unaligned energies that were not relevant to the intention of the space, relevant to the heart center, relevant to the vessel. As the abilities were growing, as the awareness was expanding greatly, it also caused a lot of other energies to come forward because there was an underlying intention there of bring forward all information, and that made my job had to work a little bit harder there. As there was a lot more control that was gained in the space through intention, through narrowing down the focus, that is where my role has shifted from trying to keep out to upholding what already is. Oftentimes when you're looking and working with a protector energy, their energy is going to be a little bit more intense presenting than what mine currently is. Why? Because as a protector, you have to be that intense energy. When it switches over into the upholding, now our vibration can match and be in tune a little bit more with the vibrational state of the auric field, of what is being brought forth. But how we can make this switch or transition in the energetic state is through intense intentionalities and training of your team. Isabel has shown me every single day, multiple times a day, for years,
When situations came forward, this is what happened, this is how I felt, this was the energy I felt present, this is what I am releasing, and this is what I am looking for the standard to be the next time I go into this particular situation. This is why protectors have to be trained and your team has to be trained, because your dynamic of free will is going to differ based on all of the different circumstances or people you are interacting with. Going into one situation, your free will and intent could be aligned. In another situation, it could vary greatly. So this is how I am able to support the system in upholding and how your protectors can support you as well.
This is a great tie-in, Maverick.
Okay.
And it may be reiteration, but I think it's important.
Okay.
Kim is asking, do your protector guides work automatically?
We work to help maintain the base level vibration that is being held if there are not other intentionalities set in place or different structures set in place.
Can you explain that a little further?
Yes. Now, protectors are present within every individual's energetic team and spaces. If there's not directionality on this is the energy I'm looking to keep out, this is the energy I am looking to uphold, what protectors will do if there's not that clarity there is simply help to maintain the free will and the structures you already have, making sure that your guides are incorporating their ability to the best of their capacity, helping to maintain the vibrational state you are currently residing at, and helping when those intentions or subtle thoughts are there to release certain energies that we will be there to support in that releasing. Now, when there is structure, when there is clarity, and when there is consistency on showing us exactly what it is that happened, the situation, as Isabel would do, she would imagine a movie screen and she would play me the movie of what happened. We would release that information and then she would show me, this is how I'm looking to energetically be held next time this instance come about. What that now does is takes that protector energy from simply helping to manage and maintain, and it gives us a task. Protectors and upholders are your task-oriented guides. The other guides in your space are going to be there to help move those subtle shifts in the awareness. They're constantly going to be there supporting you. We as protectors and upholders need a task in order to truly help perform that ability to the best and fullest of our capacity.
Thanks for going through that in that much depth, Maverick. I appreciate it. With that said, I want to get your advice for everyone that's joining, and this, I want to leave this open-ended just like I did with Joshua earlier, is from what's been brought forward, what is the importance of filtering through what isn't relevant for you and actually setting a path forward when working with your team in spirit?
I'd like to give some physical examples of how it was for Isabel and how that can change. Is that all right?
Yes, please.
Okay. If there is not clarity, directionality, if there is not intentionality, if there is not a filtration of information, these are common cycles that I've seen when working with this vessel, and that is common within many others as well. A almost looping within your space. You get very intuitive messages, you are very connected, and then it feels as though it shuts off. A racing of thoughts, of anxieties that seem to not go away, that nagging voice in the back of the head that you seem to not be able to shut off, the feeling as though you are moving and trudging through mud, looking to find and create a new pathway for yourself, but it seems incredibly difficult, finding a limitation of options that are available to you, feeling a disconnect with yourself, a disconnect with your team. These are all potential causes of not having energetic controls within the space. So yes, you can be connecting in with your team. Yes, you can be connecting in with spirit, but is it truly supporting you in the motion that you are looking to take, the avenue that you are looking to go down? And if you are someone
that feels as though I do not know where I want to go. I don't know what my path is. I do not know who I am. That is an even better signal to find that control, that consistency energetically. One always mirrors the other. When you energetically have a clear foundational base, you now have a clear base physically to be able to see, to be able to perceive, to be able to process in a new manner.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us, and everyone that's on with us today. We appreciate it. Welcome back, Isabel.
Whew.
I am Josiah, and that is
Hi.
Isabel here. Thank you for everyone that's been
Hi,
joining us and on with
everybody.
us today. We appreciate it.
Whew.
One of the major things, this is what I was thinking about while Maverick was in, that I've gotten from working with teams, working with our energetic teams, and I feel differently from Isabel. Isabel brings them in and actually has them communicate in this way. She focuses on seeing and hearing. Mine is primarily through feeling and embodying. So I can feel and differentiate my guides when they're coming forward and what their different energy feels like. And I can bring them into my space if I'm looking for strength from my protector.
Yeah.
If I'm looking for a sense of calmness from my nature energy. Whoever comes forward, I invite them in that way. What has that allowed me to do, and how has Isabel changed from working with her team? And I think the biggest thing that we have is going from a place of stuckness to almost not even recognizing ourselves from a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
If I passed myself from a year ago, 2 years ago, I would not recognize that version of myself as me.
No.
It's such an extreme amount of change that we've made in a short period of time. And it's not just physical. I know people talk a lot about in the manifesting space on what you're physically creating. Sure, that's an element to it, but it's more of how we handle situations. Like what we're capable of walking into. I mean, when I was really young, that felt like 4 lifetimes ago, where I was barely able to walk out of the house without shaking anxiety. And now we're in front of hundreds of people every day.
Yeah.
Traveling to new states, different countries at times, where before we could barely leave a single room. Working with the team is like moving lifetimes within a single year. Why? Because how much more could you do with an entire team versus just yourself?
Yeah.
Logically, with anything. If you're building a business, if you're working on a car, if you're building a house, would you rather build the house on your own or have a whole team behind you of builders,
Yeah.
of
Specialties.
plumbers, of, I don't build houses,
I don't know.
roofers, there we go, we'll get more in there, that all are specialized in what they're doing. All they need is your go-ahead and direction.
Yeah.
And that's what energetic mechanics is teaching you how to give the go-ahead and direction. So if we're walking into building a house, we have no idea how to build a roof. We have no idea what goes into plumbing. We have no idea about the foundational structure of the house. It's going to be hard for us to give direction to that team. And I'm actually going to use this going forward. It's the first time I've said this in this way. But if you have a foundational understanding of how you want this house to look and what the finished product will be, you'll know how to direct those different members of the team and how to support them in accomplishing their jobs that they're already good at. They
And
just
you-
need directionality.
Yeah, and you can think of your primary guide as like the project manager. You tell the project manager, this is what I want, and they say, okay, I'm going to go tell the rest of the employees what to do. Employees. But that's kind of how it functions. That is how
It's
it
a team.
functions.
It's an energetic team.
Yes.
With that, for those still joining us, if you're looking to connect to your own team, of course, go to the heart space, follow your intuition, our ways, but to really mechanically get a new structure and understanding of who is there and how you can work with them, that's where we do what we call a jump start session. If you're interested in this, DM us the word jumpstart right after, where we actually bring in the members of your team, names, a label or understanding of who they are, and how they can help you. And Isabel actually channels them in for a
Yes.
direct conversation.
That's what I've been working for. On lives, I channel in my guides or Josiah's guides. But the bread and butter of what we really do is channeling in the guides from your space.